Hare Krishna. So just start in a minute. So we'll start with reciting prayers. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanachhalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mayam Dadati Supatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Saganadvaita Shri Shadhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanuste Devi Pranamami Harike Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnave Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Dan Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharane Vishesha Chalam Padma Grim Yat Kripata Mahamande Shri Guru Nataranam Parmanam. So we are continuing here this beautiful scripture of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which gives us the deep insight the lives of great pure devotees. Of course, the topmost of the pure devotees in the form of Lord Chaitanya himself, who's non-different from Krishna in the mood of Radharani, and also so many other devotees. And especially today, since we are continuing the discussion of the 4th chapter of the Madhya Lila, which is focused on the glories of the devotional service of Madhavendra Puri, which is actually such a very sweet and very spiritually nourishing pastime. We discussed up to verse 53 of the 4th chapter. We discussed about how Lord Chaitanya, on his way from Shantipur going towards Jagannath Puri, passes through Remuna, and at Remuna they visit Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and 3 other devotees. They stay over at Remuna. It's a very, very special place. They stay over at the temple of Gopinath, which is at that time famous as Kheer Chor Gopinath. The Gopinath who stole Kheer. So whenever Krishna does something very, very unusual, running away from battlefield, stealing Kheer, stealing yogurt, you can quite confidently conclude that he has done it for some devotee. Because whenever it comes to giving pleasure to his devotees, Krishna doesn't even care about what the rest of the world feels or thinks. Of course, in this particular episode, there wasn't any reason for the world to say anything. But I am making a more general comment. Whether it comes to sometimes what may seem like breaking his promise, what may appear sometimes to be running away from battlefield, what may appear sometimes to be telling lies, what may appear sometimes to steal from others. Krishna says, my devotee has to be happy. Krishna is not interested in public opinion. He is the controller of all controllers. He doesn't have to go to election every 5 years. That he has to worry, 99% of the people are sinful, materialistic. So if they don't vote for me, how I will get re-elected to Supreme Personality of Godhead next time? Krishna is not dependent on the vote of conditioned souls to maintain his supreme position. Krishna is Abhigya Swarat, all-knowing and fully independent. And one of the most wonderful qualities of the Supreme Lord is his very special affection for his devotees. And especially the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is especially famous for this, for his Bhakta Vatsalata, his very sweet interaction with his devotees. And he just loves doing it. He's not doing some of these things just to instruct others. This is Krishna's heart. Especially we are talking about, of course, even with sadhakas for that matter, but especially more so with those who are purified souls. The Lord so much loves to shower his affection on them, and so much loves even to serve them in various ways. And one of the greatest of such devotees is Sripad Madhavendra Puri, who is the guru of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are discussing the pastime of Madhavendra Puri, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is narrating to Nityananda and others at Ramuna, and is narrating how he had heard this pastime from Ishwara Puri, his spiritual master, about the glories of the devotion of Madhavendra Puri. And the narration of the pastime, which we discussed in our last class, began with Madhavendra Puri going to Vrindavan and how Krishna, in the form of a Gopala, comes to him with a pot of milk saying, "Oh, Mahatma, you are fasting. Nobody fasts in my village. Please take some milk." And Madhavendra Puri is wondering, how come you know? He says, yeah, I heard some of the ladies were telling me that you are fasting. Madhavendra Puri is very charmed by the boy, but he just accepts, and then he accepts the milk and then he drinks it, and then later when he falls asleep, Krishna comes into his dream and says, I was this Gopala. And then he tells him that please go into the forest. And he shows him at a particular place where he's lying in a deity form. That same original deity, which almost 5,000 years ago, after Krishna's disappearance, Vajranabh, the great grandson of Krishna, had installed, and which some time ago was hidden in the bushes near Govardhan Hill because the Muslims had attacked. The Lord, desiring to be excavated and worshipped again, wanted Madhavendra Puri, his very dear devotee, perform this seva. So Madhavendra Puri, as we discussed in the last class, gathered the residents of the nearby village, asked them to take sickles and choppers, and they cleared the thickets and went straight to the place where they found Gopalji in a very deep, dense thicket, covered by dirt and covered by leaves and foliages. Many men had to put an extraordinary effort to lift that deity because the deity itself was very, very heavy. Madhavendra Puri instructed, because he was instructed by the Lord, set up a temple for me and worship me. Because through the medium of that deity, the Lord wanted to bestow his blessings all living entities. See, that's the mercy of the Lord. The deity form of the Lord is actually a mercy of the Lord, because ordinary conditioned souls like us cannot directly access the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when the Lord is invoked by great pure devotees in his deity form, the Lord accepts a murti made of material elements and accepts it as his transcendental form and becomes personally manifest in front of our eyes, so that we can actually not just see him, but actually serve him. Because he's a archa vigraha. He's a vigraha, he's a body, he's a form. But form for what? In that form of archa vigraha, that vigraha has appeared to receive our archana. So it's known as archa vigraha. The form which is standing in front of us to receive our worship. Krishna is standing there. Come. Here I am. Okay. You cannot access me in Goloka. Here I am standing. Okay, now, render service to me. So that is the unlimited mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he accepts. Of course, we cannot do it whimsically. We have to follow the rituals, and that's why we have to be properly initiated and guided by the bona fide spiritual master in terms of how we worship the deities. But in the form of the holy name, in form of the deities, the Lord is manifest in front of us in his Saguna Brahma form. The Lord accepts the material qualities of the deities and makes them transcendental. So much so that it is said there is no difference between the Murti and the Lord. Pratima nahi tumi swayam Brajendra Kumar. That, oh Lord, you are not just an idol. You are swayam, you are personally Brajendra Kumar. So when devotees take darshan of the Supreme Lord, we are not talking just about deities like Gopalji. In general, any bona fide installed deity, all our ISKCON temples, also in so many other tirthas, whether it be at Tirupati, whether it be at Badrinath, whether it be at Jagannath Puri, when we see the deity, we have to understand that we are actually seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead straight, face to face. That's how we have to be conscious and interact. And that is the truth. And those who relate with the Lord in that consciousness, the Lord also reciprocates in that manner. Many devotees have experienced that kind of reciprocation by the deities. Ye yatha mam prapadyanti tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. As you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. If you look at him as stone, he will behave as stone. If you look at him as Swayam Brajendra Nandan, he will reciprocate with us as a person. And even many sadhakas have experienced very beautiful interactions with the deity form of the Lord. So Madhavendra Puri was so very happy that he was instructed and selected by the Lord to perform this seva. It's a great honor, isn't it? The Lord could have selected, and there are billions of human beings on the planet. I don't know what was the population of the world in those days. Nowadays it is 7 billion. Probably at that time it was much less, maybe a couple of billion, I do not know. Madhavendra Puri was selected by Gopalji. So Madhavendra Puri was so happy, he instructed these assistants to carry the deity of Gopal on top of Govardhan hill. Because the Lord wanted to be worshipped on top of Govardhan hill. So we discussed how, with the help of others, he had 2 stone slabs, one as a platform and one as a backrest. He had the very, very heavy deity of Gopalji, a stone deity. Very beautiful black deity where the Lord is lifting Govardhan hill. Very sweet deity. The deity was placed, the deity was still very dirty, covered with grass and dirt, and he had his assistants clean, at least initially do a basic cleaning. The Lord had instructed him, I want to be nicely bathed and nicely worshipped. So Madhavendra Puri asked all the Brahmanas of the nearby villages, he said, go and bring 9 water pots of water from Govinda Kunda, nicely filter it and bring nice water pots. It is said later 900 water pots were actually gathered from Govinda Kunda, which were used during the installation of the deity. One of the things Krishna loves is to be bathed in Abhishek. Don't ask the question why. Some of us may not like. Of course, we all like to eat. Krishna likes to eat also, but Krishna likes to be bathed also. He likes, so we do. He likes to receive the service of being bathed by various auspicious articles. So, intending to do a massive installation ceremony, they wanted to do a deity installation ceremony. Madhavendra Puri wanted to do. So, he was taking assistance. And by Krishna's inspiration, all the various villagers were coming and helping him. All these water pots were all set up. So many people had come and they were playing musical instruments and drums, and women came and they were singing, and different people were bringing different auspicious items, milk items, yogurt, butter. So many things were coming, and all this paraphernalia was getting collected. Food items, mithais, sweets. So this is how, Krishna helps. When a great devotee is there and when some service is to be done, even though the great devotee takes little, Krishna is arranging and inspiring so many individuals to come together to contribute, to serve him nicely. So many villagers brought so many flowers, tulsi, various kinds of cloth. And as all this paraphernalia was getting gathered, Madhavendra Puri decided to himself start the bathing ceremony of Gopal. So typically, in as a part of the worship, and we have mentioned this earlier, usually worship of the Lord begins with bathing. Just before the bathing, auspicious mantras were chanted to remove any negative effects and negative energies. This is done even during deity installations. When before the actual abhishek or in the deity installation is done, various rituals, including chanting of mantras and rituals, are done to remove any negative energies which may be attached to that stone before the actual installation ceremony is done. Then the deity's bathing ceremony started. So typically, when the deity is bathed, the first thing that the deity, that is the seva that is offered to the deity, even before the bathing starts, it's considered a part of the bathing, but even before the water is poured, you know what is done? The first thing is done is that the deity is given a massage. So there's a massage first, and then it is followed by bathing. So this is how traditionally the Vedic culture bathing is done. So beautiful, large quantities of oils were used and they were rubbed onto the body of Gopalji. And Madhavendra Puri was massaging. It's a great pleasure to massage the deities, and Krishna loves that. Just like we also, I don't know whether all of you like, but some of us may like nice, gentle massage. So the Supreme Lord also in his deity form. So even when we bathe deities, our home deities also, we should first gently massage it. You can take some scented oils, pure made of pure ingredients, not artificial, preferably fully natural flower oils, nicely massage the deity form. The whole deity of Gopalji became glossy, being covered by, so the deity becomes oily. So when there is an oil massage, then the bathing has to be done in such a way so that all the oil is removed. So various ingredients are used to remove the oiliness as well. So, so it is said Madhavendra Puri first bathed after the oil. He first did a first round of bathing to remove the oil. And then further bathings was done first with Panchagavya, the 5 auspicious items connected to the cow, which again create auspiciousness. The Panchagavya are cow dung, cow urine, cow milk, yogurt, and ghee. So Panchagavya were used first to bathe. And after the Panchagavya was done, then the Panchamrita was used to bathe the deity. So both Panchagavya and Panchamrita. Panchagavya is done initially to remove as a purificatory matter, and then the Panchamrita as auspicious ingredients are used. Panchamrita are, there are some common elements with the Panchagavya, which is milk, yogurt, and ghee are common. In addition, honey is used in Panchamrita, and also sugar or sugar water is used in Panchamrita. After this was done, and this is described in great detail, the bathing is described in great detail. Then a Mahasnan was performed for Gopalji. That Mahasnan was done by pouring huge amounts of ghee and water, which was brought in 100 pots. So after the Mahasnan was done, again the deity was massaged with special scented oils. And his body was again made glossy, nice shine. Then finally, after this, one final round of bathing was done with scented water. And that time the bathing was done by keeping the water in a conch shell. Like in ISKCON, we bathe the deities with conch shell. So like this, a very beautiful, elaborate bathing ceremony. Now this bathing ceremonies are very auspicious to see. And the fact that so much detailed description is given, these are also the standards that we follow up to this day. The massaging with oils, the bathing with Panchagavya, then the Panchamrita. This is followed in most ISKCON temples. At home, of course, we may or may not be able to do all this in this elaboration. We also not just do this, but we offer various fruit juices also to the Lord on festivals in our temples. And this is a very auspicious thing. And this water, which is bathed the Lord, is considered very, very potent. The Panchamrita, the Mahaprasad, Panchamrita Mahaprasad is considered very, very potent. So it's a great pleasure. Also, just wanted to mention, sometimes we wonder, oh, I am not able to bathe the deity. Oh. But in the scriptures, it is said, even if we are not able to bathe the deity, even if we are just sitting in the temple and watching the pujaris bathe the deities, if we are absorbing our consciousness and seeing the deities being massaged, being bathed, seeing the arti, the Shastra says if we are absorbed, we get the same benefit as the pujari. Because actually, the pujari is doing all these sevas on behalf of the whole congregation. Of course, because he is directly doing the seva, he is naturally very absorbed. But if we are also absorbed to the same extent, we can also get the same benefit. It's a matter of absorption. That's why I so many times say, even though I am speaking, we all get the same benefit as long as we are equally absorbed. I have a better opportunity to be absorbed because I cannot speak without being absorbed. But 90% of you are with black screens in front of me. So whether you're actually absorbed, or whether you're even sitting behind that black screen, or whether you're even listening to it, or partly listening to it, not listening to it, I do not know. I'm not insisting that you turn on your videos. I'm just saying, because I'm not the police here. I'm just trying to make the principle that our benefit depends on our absorption. I am fortunate because I am speaking. I have no choice but to be absorbed. How can I not be absorbed? But you can get the same benefit if you're fully absorbed in listening to what I'm speaking. And if your absorption is intense, your absorption can even be more than mine. So it's a matter of quality. It's not just a matter of quantity. So please understand, devotional service is like that. Devotional service, we can be purified by chanting one name of the Lord, or we may be chanting the name of the Lord for 1 million lifetimes and still not be purified. Problem is not in the name. The problem is in our absorption and intensity. So actually, it's the ball is in our court. Nam namakari bahudha nija sarvashaktis tatrarpita niyamita smarane nakalah etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi urdaiva midrisham yaha janinarave. Lord, you are so kind. You have invested all your potencies in your holy names. I am so unfortunate. Durdaiva midrusham. What is that ill fortune? I have no taste for chanting your holy names. Cannot be absorbed. This is the state of the sadhaka, the conditioned sadhaka, who wants but is struggling. It's part of the Shikshashtaka. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this just to instruct us. So that's why I'm mentioning all this is when we are looking at when we are actually taking darshan of the deities being served during an abhishek or during an arti or any other seva, it's one must be very absorbed in seeing that. We must be happy, and we're not just seeing it as a spectacle. See, it looks so beautiful. Oh, white, 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 milk falling on the deity. We are not there to see a spectacle. While there is a spectacle and that may have its attraction, but what the devotee is enjoying to see is to see how Krishna is taking pleasure receiving the seva. Oh, Krishna is enjoying. He's being bathed with honey. Yes. Krishna becomes happy when he sees his devotee being happy in his enjoyment. And that is what bhakti is about. When we see the deity of the Lord being wonderfully dressed, for example, here it is said after being bathed, the deity was nicely dressed with nice cloth. He was cleansed and new garments, nice sandalwood pulp was placed on him, tulsi garlands were placed, other beautiful garlands were placed around Gopalji. Incense, it is said, after bathing, dressing is done, then arti is done. Camphor, agarbatti, lamps, and various kinds of naivedya were offered in front of Gopalji. So this is the standard sequence. Bathing, dressing, alankara, naivedya, arati. This is the standard. Please remember, and this is practically the standard, not just an ISKCON standard. This is the standard almost in all traditional worship systems. Bathing, and bathing typically has massage. Whether everywhere there is massage system followed or not, I do not know. But bathing followed by dressing, alankara, flowers, tulsi, etc. Then naivedya, then thupa, deepa, and other items of arti are offered. And the devotees are absorbed in seeing this and enjoying seeing Krishna receive such worship. See, this is what distinguishes a devotee from a ordinary person or a non-devotee. A devotee is one when he sees Krishna enjoy, he's very happy. When he sees Krishna nicely decorated, is very happy that Krishna is so nicely decorated. When he sees Krishna offered beautiful, beautiful hundreds of items, he's so happy, thinking how happy Krishna will be to receive so many offerings. Radharani and Krishna were offered 1008 offerings this Radhashtami. When we see all those offerings laid out after the offerings have been done and we are taking darshan, after the Naivedya has been offered in festival, right? Sometimes we see items laid out. We all go in front and we want to see. Hopefully, we are not trying to see what all out of this is what I want to, flick once the prasadam comes off the altar. We go to see with the consciousness, we want to see what wonderful items Krishna has enjoyed. That should be our consciousness. Then we'll make spiritual advancement. The consciousness of a bhakta is that he takes pleasure in Krishna's enjoyment. If we have not reached that point of consciousness, we must realize that we have worked towards. And that is the symptom of love. Because if we actually love somebody, we will be happy when they are happy, isn't it? For example, many of us are parents. When our children really eat a nice meal and they look very happy, how much satisfied the parents feel? They want to see the children enjoying eating the prasad, the prasad nicely, the food nicely. When they are happy and satisfied, parents feel so satisfied. So that is the kind of, and that happens because there is a feeling of love. There is a desire to give pleasure, the object of the service. Remember His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj once in a class said that when the devotee sees the deity of the Lord covered with chandan, a materialistic person may think, oh, so much chandan wasted. Materialistic person sometimes think like, oh, why they are wasting milk on the deity, or they are wasting milk on Shivling, or they are doing this and that. When they see God or any form of the Lord enjoying, they become very disturbed. That's a demoniac mentality. Why so many things are being offered? Why such costly things are being offered to the deity? And then immediately they'll remember poor people. Until that point, they are not doing anything for poor people, but as soon as something is done for the Lord, they start remembering poor people. It's just an expression of envy. So Radhanath Maharaj was saying that when devotees see the Lord, especially during Chandan Yatra, I've been posting so many pictures of Chandan Yatra. When a devotee sees the Lord's body covered with Chandan, and the Lord enjoying it like that, the devotee feels cool in his heart because the Lord's body is covered with Chandan. If we are devotees, then we will get that feeling. We'll feel, oh, why? And we'll get that feeling only if we take pleasure in the Lord receiving that pleasure. So this is a very, very important point, and that's why I'm spending a few minutes on this. And that is why some of these sevas, whether it is bathing, whether it is Naivedya offering, whether it is Aarti or whatever other services, are described in such great detail. Sometimes some of us may worry, oh, why this had done, this was done, then this was. What is the need? Just say Lord was bathed. Can we move on with the story? What is this days, then days, then he ate days, then he... Let's go ahead. Let the story go on. Let the story go on. What is this? Why you stuck on bathing and eating and... I remember, sorry, diversion. I remember when I used to sometimes watch, not sometimes, many times in the childhood, would watch a movie. My parents will be, there, or sometimes they're watching on a video player or some movie. I was a young boy. Whenever there would be any song which will come, or there'll be a fight scene which will come, my parents will immediately say, please fast forward. Let's catch up with the story. This is all unnecessary masala. I said, no, this is what I want to see. Because I will enjoy that. The details of the fighting, the details of the song. Because the fun, and of course, this is nothing spiritual, it's totally mundane, but the fun, especially in connection with Krishna, I'm talking about. Listen, how Krishna enjoyed this, and then he enjoyed this. He put the chapati in his mouth and he said, oh, the chapati is wonderful. Oh, that is so nice. And then he tasted this sabji, which was made of spinach. Freshly made, nice, tasty spinach mixed with tamarind. And he put in his mouth and he loved it because Sachi Mata had made with such great love. And the devotees are so happy simply hearing this. If you tell the devotees the Lord ate, no. They are not interested in storyline, they are interested in the details. Because they want to hear how the Lord enjoys. And that is the reason all these details are described, in case you are wondering. So it is expected for us as devotees to be excited. Wow, this was also done, this was also done. Yes. And not that, Prabhuji, why we are discussing all this. Why Chaitanya Charitamrita, highest of all the scriptures, going into details of bathing ceremony, going into details of how the food was laid out, going into details of whatever the sabjis prepared, how they wash their hand. Because that is the meditation of the devotee. This is what, so these things cannot be understood by those who are not devotees. So this is a test of how much of a devotee we are, how happy we see when we see the Lord enjoy. When the Lord is beautifully decorated, are we fascinated to see the decoration, or are we happy to see the Lord is enjoying being adorned with such opulence? The Lord is enjoying these thousands of items. How the Lord would have enjoyed. There was a beautiful mango festival where thousands of mangoes were kept. I had shared some pictures and some videos. We should think, wow, how the Lord would have enjoyed, how the Lord would have been happy. And when we receive that mango prasad, the devotee, as he's tasting that prasad, is thinking, this mango has been tasted by Krishna. Eisha Krishna Ashwadido. Ino Shaka Ashwadane. Krishna Prema Aise Mane. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita only, elsewhere. So we'll come to all this. That even as we are eating the vegetable, what is the meditation? When we taste the vegetable and we taste it nice, The devotee doesn't think, oh, today what tasty prasad. Huh? I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's not bad, but the ideal thought process should be how Krishna must have enjoyed this. How Krishna must have enjoyed. So this is the beauty, and this kind, and a devotee who develops this kind of mood, Krishna becomes very attracted to such a person. So that is one of the reasons why all these details are given. So even if we do not have that consciousness, let us at least understand that this is the direction we have to go towards. Let us develop the eagerness to develop happiness on seeing the Lord enjoying. Because our essential main disease of why we are in this material world is because we are envious and we are envious of the Lord and we are envious of the enjoyment of the Lord. This is not a detail. This is a very, very important, essential principle, which only devotees will understand. Others will not be able to understand. So Madhavendra Puri had various offerings offered and arti done. Their offerings included milk, yogurt, so many kinds of things, mithais. And after the Lord had eaten all these items, nice scented water was given, offered to the Lord for washing his hand, and so that the Lord can rinse his mouth. So when a devotee serves the Lord, he serves with that meditation. In fact, when deity worship is done, even in ISKCON temples, even today, when we do deity worship, we don't just keep the plate in front of the Lord and ring the bell like sometimes we do at home. We actually offer achamaniyam. We wash the hands of the Lord. We offer him asan. Then we keep nevedya. Then we offer the nevedya after the Lord has finished. Hasta mukha prakshalanam. Hand and mouth rinsing. We offer water. Then we offer achaman to the Lord. Then we offer tambula to the Lord. What is tambula? Tambula is after mint. Pan. So after mint is also. Madhavendra Puri offered. He had nice fragrant water. First, he offered a lot of drinking water in many earthen pots, and after the Lord had accepted the water after his meal, then he offered water for rinsing the Lord's hand and then washing his mouth, and finally he offered pan mixed with various spices. So the last offering was tambula and pan. And after this, the arti was performed. So everyone attended the arti. This was the first arti of Gopalji after a long, long time. It is not mentioned how many years Gopalji was lying there. It must have been many years because that whole area was very neglected and nobody knew that he was hidden there. And people had gathered from all these neighboring villages because the news spread very fast. The description is given that as soon as the news spread across the village that Gopalji's deity, the original deity of Vajranab, has been found, all the residents of the village, because all these villages are part of Braj, they are all Brajvasis. And Brajvasis are so sold out to the Lord. Brajvasis have Krishna in their mind day and night. They cannot forget Krishna. They all came running. And they didn't simply come, they were eager to serve. It is said, whatever stock of rice, dal, atta they had at home, they brought all of it and presented it to Madhavendra Puri and said, please use all of this for offerings to Gopal. This is our contribution to this festival. It is said the mountain top of Govardhan. This all happened on Govardhan Hill. Because these are Brajvasis, they could go on top of Govardhan Hill. We cannot. The whole top of Govardhan Hill was full of mounds of rice and dal and atta and devotees. See, this is the special thing about Brajvasis and pure devotees. They don't think twice. It is said they emptied their homes, whatever they had. They did not say, all other things I will keep at home. Whatever they had. Those who were potters, they didn't have so many grains, they brought pots. Please use this for cooking. Please use this for offering. All kind of cooking pots. So many stoves were created and all these pots were kept and so many ingredients had already come. So many people were also bringing so many kinds of vegetables. Madhavendra Puri arranged for 10 Brahmins to cook the grains, rice and various grain items. 5 Brahmanas were engaged. 5 Brahmanas engaged exclusively to cook vegetable items. And a big team of people, around 7 of them, were engaged in making chapatis. Of course, the vegetables were also all kinds of things, all kinds of spinach, roots, vegetables, whatever was available in that area, whatever devotees were bringing, all these Brajvasis were bringing, they were cooking kinds of wonderful items. There are also vadas, bada and badi. I don't know what the badi is, but it said bada was there. I don't know whether it was what kind of vada it was. It's not mentioned here. But it said it was made by mashing dal. Maybe it is some kind of a dal vada. So all these Brahmanas were busy engaging in cooking this huge feast. And all these, each of these chapatis that these 7 people are making, they were fully covered with ghee. So these are all meditations. Even as each chapati is being made, the devotee is thinking and carefully making that how it will be perfect for Krishna's enjoyment. How Krishna will enjoy this chapati. How nicely I have to put ghee so that Krishna enjoys. When we are cooking for the Lord, especially at home, sometimes this is difficult, but especially when we are doing deity cooking, we have to be very, very, very conscious of each and everything we are doing. Even the cutting of the vegetables, whenever I used to do deity cooking, because my spiritual master has trained me like that. Of course, all goes to him. I am very conscious. Even how I cut the vegetable, I'm conscious that every vegetable is cut nicely so it looks very pretty. Not put in the pan. Every vegetable, when Krishna is picking this up, nicely, evenly cut, look pretty. Every aspect we are thinking. Even the pots of Krishna when we are washing in the kitchen, in the deity kitchen. I remember once when I was a brahmachari, after the ladies would have cooked the Rajbhog offering, I would go to clean the kitchen. 5, 7 ladies would come and cook in the kitchen, and after the cooking, they will leave, and the whole cooking, the kitchen cleaning was my job. And actually, it was quite a mess. Now, I don't want to go into the details of that. I am not blaming them, but because they were so enthusiastically cooked. But it was quite a task to clean, and so many pots the kitchen. And I was there and I was cleaning and washing the pot. I was alone. And I was meditating and cleaning the pots. And nobody was there. It was only me. And after some time, I just had a strange feeling that somebody is watching me. So I just looked on the side, and outside the door of the kitchen, nobody was there. Outside the door of the kitchen, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was standing. And he was intently watching me. And I was suddenly, kind of shocked. First of all, I didn't expect anybody, and that too Maharaj, and that too he was not just passing by, standing there and watching me. And I was like, started in the middle of washing this pot. I immediately, stopped and offered my obeisances. And Maharaj smiled and, he nodded his head in approval, somehow indicating that he was happy, he was pleased. Because the way I understood it, of course, he didn't say anything, but because I know this has happened multiple times, not just with me, but with many others, that the spiritual master wants to see whether we are performing the seva in the right consciousness. Whether we are seeing the seva as a seva, or we are seeing it as a task or a job. I have to clean, I have to get this done. I have to somehow cut and go. I have to cook nicely so that after the offering is done, nice Mahaprasad will come out and I will enjoy with my friends. This is one disease that one has to be very careful to avoid. One should never think while cooking that later, I can enjoy some of this. So these are all finer nuances and very important nuances in terms of how we have to train our consciousness. Devotional service is very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be big things. But what is actually important is the content of our consciousness as we are doing these things which actually anybody can do. Anybody can do externally, but can everybody do with the absorption, with the right intention, the right motivation, with the right desire to please Krishna? That is the essence of bhakti. And that is why all this has been described in great detail, because Madhavendra Puri was spearheading this whole enterprise of pleasing Gopal by doing this very, very wonderful seva. So all these Brahmanas were engaged, rice, 10 of them making rice, 5 of them making sabjis, 7 of them making chapatis covered with gitis, and mounds of, they kept cloth on the ground, because this is all happening on Govardhan. And mind you, this is done immediately after the deity was found. There was no temple. They just had put some stone slab, put Gopalji on top, no temple, nothing covering. They just laid cloth on Govardhan, then put palasha leaves and put mounds of rice there. And heaps of chapatis were surrounding with ghee, were surrounding the rice mounds. And all these beautiful, beautiful earthen pots of various kinds of vegetables were decorating around these mounds and chapatis. This is how the description is given. So that whole arrangement was so beautiful, and all the devotees are so excited and so happy that Gopalji is, after such a long time, Gopal is going to enjoy. Will just so much enjoy this wonderful rice, these nice hot chapatis, these wonderful sabjis, this mithais. Gopal will enjoy so much. That was the happiness, that was the excitement. Everybody was focused how Krishna will be pleased. Along with the sabjis, there were pots of milk, buttermilk, yogurt, mithais, everything very, very nicely. Also, many pots of scented water for Gopal to drink. As we discussed, Madhavendra Puri personally offered all these items to Gopal. And Gopal had not eaten for so many days. So Gopal was very hungry. So we may wonder, how come Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes so hungry? Even very advanced spiritualists are not supposed to have conquered hunger and thirst. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jivva vegam udropastha vegam etan vegan yo vishehe tadvira sarvam api imam pratvim sasishyat. Nectar of instruction. He who has conquered the urges, including the urge of the belly, the urge of the tongue. Even great transcendentalists have done so. So Krishna is not hungry for food. Krishna is feeling nobody has been worshipping Krishna is Bhavagra. He wants devotion. And this is one way in which the Lord accepts the devotion of his devotees. So he's hungry. In the pretext of food, actually, he's hungry for the love. So it is said, all these items that were laid out, Gopalji ate each and everything. He was so hungry. And by the transcendental touch of Gopalji, even though he ate everything, it is said everything still remained behind. By the Lord's transcendental potency. It is said only Madhavendra Puri could actually see how the Lord is actually eating, but still leaving behind his prasad. Nobody else could see. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, nothing remains a secret for a pure devotee. Krishna cannot hide from the pure devotee what's actually going on behind the scenes. Madhavendra Puri would understand. So this whole function happened over the day, over one day. The installation of Gopalji, and how all these things suddenly got achieved from this dream, and suddenly finding Gopal, suddenly bringing him on top, setting up this, that, everything just happened, one thing after another, one thing after another, and over the day installation was done. Can you imagine? Suddenly finding the deity in the morning, and by evening deity is installed, and so many offerings done, so many artists, so many thousands of people have come, and this is how the Lord empowers. So when we are genuinely wanting to serve the Lord, somehow or the other, the Lord will empower us to serve Him. So it is said after doing this, the Lord wanted, Madhavendra Puri wanted the Lord to take rest. After a nice meal, he likes to take rest. So after Rajbhog, usually we'll put the Lord to rest after the Aarti. So he had a nice bed arranged for Gopal. Put some nice new cloth on it, special bed for the Lord. And he had the deity put to rest. He also had a temporary covering, like a canopy put on top, because there was no temple there. And he couldn't leave the deity in the open. So after he had arranged all this, and the Lord was put to rest, Madhavendra Puri, he gathered all the Brahmins who had assisted in cooking and all the other deity related services, and he told them, now that the Lord has enjoyed to his heart content and he's resting, now feed all the devotees, all this huge amounts of prasad. Start from the children and the elderly people, and then feed each and everyone. So all the people gathered and they sat down and they were all honoring prasad. The Brahmanas and the Brahmanas' wives were also fed first. So there's a particular culture in the Vedic etiquette. Of course, the children and elderly are also given because of their needs. They are fed first because they may not be able to tolerate hunger so much. And other than that, great souls, Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, are honored by feeding them first, and then the general populace is fed. So it is said not just people from Govardhan came to take that prasad. It said the news spread so far and wide that people from so many nearby villages came. They all came to say this deity of Gopalji, and whoever came there, they received the prasad of Gopalji. And all these Brajvasis, because they all have so much love for the Lord, when they saw what the residents of Govardhan Hill had done, by organizing such a huge, beautiful festival for worshipping Gopalji that they became so excited. They were thinking this festival is as good as the original Annakuta festival, which was done when originally Giriraj was worshipped, when Krishna was personally present. And that's how these residents from all these other villages were feeling. And they were feeling, oh, we missed, we came, we had darshan and we had the feast, but we didn't contribute anything to this festival. Huh? So a devotee is eager not just for glorification, but he's eager for seva. So all of these people, they started feeling that we also want to do service. So these Brahmanas who had come and who had assisted Madhavendra Puri himself initiated some of these Brahmanas and trained them to deity worship, because this was only day one, right? Now the deity cannot be abandoned after day one. Everybody bye-bye. You go back home. Oh, Krishna is brought, Krishna is welcome, Krishna is installed. Huh? So he has to be worshipped every day. Madhavendra Puri immediately that evening had to set up to make sure he initiates the devotees and properly trains them up of how the deities are to be worshipped. So Madhavendra Puri gave them Vaishnava initiation, Vaishnava Diksha to some of these Brahmanas and engaged them in various types of service. So the deity afternoon it took rest. Then in the evening again the deity had to be woken up. He trained his pujaris how as soon as the Lord wakes up, he has to be given something to eat and something to drink. This is the culture, at least in our system. As soon as the Lord is woken up, you must give him something to eat. Whether he gets up from his afternoon nap or he gets up from his night sleep, the Lord must be fed as soon as he wakes up. So all these people from the neighboring villages who had come and who got very excited, each of these villages, they begged to Madhavendra Puri that, we also want this opportunity to do service. So our village also wants to do this. Our village also wants to hold this festival in the same way that you have held this festival today. Give us also one day. And that one day we will also bring all our offerings and we also want to do a huge Annakuta ceremony for Gopal's pleasure, just like you have done today. And they were so enthusiastic and genuine enthusiasm that all these villagers, they were allotted different days. They all would bring all their grains and stock of vegetables and grains and whatever stock of rice, atta, milk, ghee, whatever they had, they brought. And every day it is said for a long time, every day this feast, this whole celebration was repeated. And as newer and newer people were coming from different villages, everybody was getting excited. Another volunteer, another volunteer. So this is how devotional service is inspiring. When we see how devotees are being so happy to serve the Lord, and day after, then others also become inspired. Just 2 more minutes and then I'll conclude for today. It is said that even the news went to Mathura, the town of Mathura, from Mathura, and Mathura is generally, it's a town. There are rich businessmen there. They also brought various opulent gifts for the Lord. They didn't just bring vegetables and grains, they brought gold ornaments, silver, nice perfumes. And in that way, the opulence of the worship of Gopalji started increasing and increasing. In fact, one local Kshatriya king who was very rich constructed a temple. So even though Madhavendra Puri had organized something of very simple thing for Gopal, but Gopal ensured that sent the right people, that eventually a temple was constructed. There was a nice boundary wall constructed. It is said every family from the Braj area donated one cow each to the temple. And soon Gopal had hundreds of cows. And the milk from all these hundreds of cows would be used for serving Gopalji. This is how everybody contributed and worshipped the deities nicely. So it is said eventually, and we are concluding with this, it is said two Brahmins who were sannyasis, they came from Bengal, and Madhavendra Puri saw that these are very exalted, perfect character devotees. So he initiated them and instructed them to be in charge of the deity worship, because Madhavendra Puri couldn't remain there all the time for worshipping Gopal. He wanted to make sure Gopal is worshipped by the proper standards for all time to come. So it is said for 2 years this kind of worship was going on. And Madhavendra Puri was there continuously for 2 years. These kind of services going, and how the temple, how gradually the temple was established. The temple is still there on top of Govardhan Hill. If you go there for parikrama, you can see it. And at the end of 2 years, Gopalji again came in the dream of Madhavendra Puri to give him one more special instruction. And there ends the current episode of chapter 4 of Madhya Lila. So we'll continue in our next class of what Gopalji came. After all this seva, Gopalji had some more request. Madhavendra Puri. So this kind of love the Lord had, that he would personally tell Madhavendra, can you do this for me? Can you pick me up from here? Can you bathe me? Can you feed me? Do this, do that. Very, very special. So a devotee is very happy to be instructed by the Lord, to get the opportunity to receive direct service. How many people are there that the Lord will come and say, can you do this for me? Because actually the Lord is not in need of anything. If he's telling some devotee to do something, that means he's eager to receive service. And that is pleasing to the Lord also, and is extremely beneficial for the devotee. So we have discussed another 50 verses today. Discussed 53 earlier. We are on 105. So we have covered only half of this chapter. And this is because of my greed to describe in great detail. We have to face this torture of going slowly through this chapter. So thank you for tolerating this. And I don't know about you, but I am feeling hungry after all this discussion. Because I was absorbed the rice and the sabjis and the chapatis. Anyway, so we'll conclude here. So before I open up the floor for any questions and comments, I just want to ask one thing, and I just want to mention. So this is a question to all of you, that we are having this CC class every Wednesday. And of course, Saturday we are having our class on the Srimad Bhagavad. So I'm thinking of moving this Wednesday class to Tuesday, same time. So this is a proposal. You don't have to say anything right now. So if anybody has any of the regular listeners, all of your regular listeners, if you have a challenge with Tuesday, same time, let me know. If nobody reaches out to me, that means nobody has any challenge. So we don't want to discuss that now here. So, and then based on that, we will take a call for next week, whether to do it on Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay. So I'm opening up the floor. If there is any question or comment, I am willing to try to share. Wonderful. Yeah. So this wasn't so much of a philosophical class. Of course, there were philosophical elements, but I hope what the gist of today's class is how to be excited that the Lord is enjoying. That is the essence of bhakti. Eagerness to serve and being absorbed and taking pleasure in the Lord, taking pleasure. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam maheshwar. So the Lord always, the devotee always enjoys seeing the Lord enjoy. And that is the enjoyment of the devotee. And that enjoyment is greater than trying to enjoy self. So that is the secret. So let us pray to the Lord, Madhavendra, Puri, and his great souls that we may understand this principle and we may be able to instill it in our own lives so that we, whenever we see the Lord being served nicely, we take great pleasure in seeing the Lord enjoy. Whether it's a bathing ceremony, whether it's an aarti ceremony, whether the dress of the deities is very nice, whether the decorations are nice, whatever kind of service is being, whether it's a palki, whether it's a rath that the Lord is going on. If we maintain this consciousness, then it will be very, very pleasing to the Lord and you'll be able to make very rapid spiritual advancement. Okay, so anybody wants any comments with respect to the schedule, you can directly PM me on WhatsApp, one-on-one. You can directly message me. It's not necessary to discuss in the group. And I'll let you know. So for Saturday, we are keeping our schedule as it is. It will remain the same. So I will see you all on Saturday. I will continue our discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai, Samavita Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gopal. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji,
and
Hare
thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, everyone. So now you can have a nice dinner prasad since your appetite is